Star Watch, but how do you like this matchup, Simpson and Day?
Well, Diamond, Simpson, rugged in the basket area, a double-double man, and Austin Day, silky smooth, can see over the top of defenses and stroke it from distance.
That championship week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods continues here in Las Vegas. Orleans Arena, the site for the West Coast Conference Championship game. Terry Gannon, Stephen Bardo, Steve Lavin. Guys, this should be a great one tonight. These two schools have become the two rivals that know each other very well. We've seen the matchups a number of times. Gonzaga won the two matchups, but Patty Mills only played for less than a half. Now he's back off of that broken hand.
Yeah, and it should be interesting. Second game for St. Mary's with Pat coming back. Let's see how they respond.
And Gonzaga, Steve, playing extremely well right now. Some news here. During the warm-ups, you see, right now, Matt Bolden starting the game with 2 free throws. Omar Samhan from St. Mary's, while the refs were out there within 30 minutes of the tip, dunked the basketball. Dave Libby came over and told us it's a technical foul, Class B technical, so it's not, there's the look at the dunk right there on the right side of your screen. It's not a personal foul, not a team foul, but it is 2 free throws. So now we get underway with the opening tip, and Gonzaga has a 1-point lead. Just remember that as the game goes on if this one's tight down the stretch.
Yeah, it's a tough way to start a championship round. Omar Samhan letting his nerves get the best of him.
That's why coaches either have no hair, or if they do have any hair, it's gray. They give you ulcers. 18 to 22-year-old kids get caught up in the emotion of things, and it can cost you a game. Great give up.
Heitfeld lost it out of bounds, but it stays here. It was knocked out by St. Mary's. 15 on the shot clock. Gonzaga won in Spokane, 69-62. But in that game earlier this year, Patty Mills had 18 points in the first half, 6 3-pointers. He went out with a broken hand a couple of minutes before halftime, and the Zags came back to win. Then a tight one in Moraga without Patty Mills, 72-70, Gonzaga won. Hargo with the miss. Micah Downs to follow. He had a big effort in the win yesterday in the semifinals.
Yeah, I thought he was the X factor, and he's that special athlete at 6'8", 6'9", can do multiple things, and if he's scoring the basketball, takes a lot of pressure off everyone else.
Mickey McConnell had it swatted away by Heitfeld. Here come the Zags. Hargo gives it up to Downs, and the foul.
Little overpassing there in transition. Better to go ahead and take the basket. Don't take the points off the board by getting too cute with the extra pass.
Lucas Walker, the senior from Australia, with the foul. Our Papa John's starting lineup, Stephen.
Mickey McConnell, Wayne Hunter, Lucas Walker, Diamond Simpson, and Omar Samhan. Same starting lineup as at the semifinal. And then on the other side, we'll get to that after the shot, but this is a defensive lineup by St. Mary's with Lucas Walker at the 3. Trying to slow down Gonzaga. There's the same starting 5 as last night for Gonzaga. Pargo, Bolden, Downs. Austin Day had a big night last night, and Josh Heitfeld, terrific defense on John Bryant from Santa Clara.
Mark Few, a decade at the helm in Spokane. They're looking for their 10th West Coast Conference Tournament title. St. Mary's looking for their 2nd. It's the first time for the Gales back in the title game since 2005.
Well, a decade of dominance by Gonzaga, and the reason this is elevated to a West Coast rivalry is St. Mary's has beaten the Bulldogs 3 times in the last 4 years. To be a rivalry, someone has to beat them, and they've been the only team that's managed to do that.
Hunter the move, can't connect. Out of bounds, it'll be St. Mary's basketball with 11 on the shot clock. We saw this starting lineup last night, but it's not long before you see Patty Mills in the game, and he's checking in right now. So Mills, the sophomore from Australia, one of 5 Australians on this roster, and the only college basketball player here in the States to play in the Olympics, and he had a great run in the Olympics.
And considered to be a top 5 point guard pro prospect.
It's a guy who averaged 14 points a game and put up big numbers against the Americans, too. Players like Chris Paul. And a great matchup with Pargo and Mills tonight. Austin Day had 28 in the semifinals, and he keeps it rolling from 3-point range. The sophomore from Irvine, California, on the board.
Those big men defensively, when they have to come out and check Austin Day, it feels a little lonely out there outside the paint area. He takes advantage.
Diamond Simpson with Austin Day. There's that matchup, Steve, you talked about. Simpson, the all-time leading rebounder in St. Mary's history and all-time in steals as well. Here comes Pargo on the run. Sets up Bolden. He can shoot that. McConnell clears.
St. Mary's needs an easy bucket. They've been very good, though, at attacking the rim. They haven't settled for jump shots. They're trying to get to the basket each and every time.
Critical to St. Mary's exhibit some patience offensively to keep the Bulldogs from boat racing in transition. Quick shots and turnovers get Zaga in transition.
Samhan can't make it. It's the first time St. Mary's has even hit the rim, though. And there's that offensive rebound, Diamond Simpson, and he gets fouled.
Well, Gonzaga torching the nets as a result of good ball movement, sharing the sugar. Micah Downs transports it through Bolden to Austin Day with the feathery touch from long range.
Austin Day, his first foul. Simpson to the line, 1 for 1. He's a 58% free throw shooter. Had some trouble, though. Well, he has all year long, but he did in the semifinals. He was just 9 of 16 from the free throw line, and they struggled overall as a team.
They really did, and such a small margin of error when you're playing against Gonzaga. And they're familiar with this territory right here. They've been in championship games. St. Mary's has never won one in this conference, and so this is a new experience for those guys. But
taken away by Mills. They get it right back, though. Didn't have possession, didn't change possession, so no new shot clock.
One of the many positive aspects of Gonzaga's offense is we see Austin Day get to the mid-range and come up short. Samhan wraps up the board. But Gonzaga, with multiple players, you can pass, catch, shoot the ball, play make, and that creates matchup problems for opponents, puts them in a bind.
Diamond Simpson, the spin in the lane. Nope, not this time. The long arms of Austin Day changing his shot.
Austin not very wide, but extremely long and doing a good job of being tall at the hole.
Taken right away underneath. Carlin Hughes, who just came off the bench and will play a lot, played very well in the win over Portland yesterday with the ball. They swing it. Simpson, don't see him take that very often.
I think Gonzaga will let Simpson have that shot all night long. They want to keep him away from the basket area where he's so effective finishing.
Well, Diamond Simpson, we talked about needing to shoot out of a phone booth to get some arc on his shot. Just so flat that he doesn't give the ball an opportunity to get on the rim.
And it's a combination. It starts with the feet at the floor and then the flexion in the knees. And that energy is what allows you to get some lift on your shot. He's flat like a tortilla or a pancake.
Stephen Gray just came off the bench, almost had the rebound, but here comes Wayne Hunter, who picked up his first foul, the last possession defensively. Simpson in the run to Samhan underneath, and he blew the easy one. Gray can shoot the threes. He has struggled recently, but in a shooting slump his last 5 games. That's a great start and a great sign for the Zags.
Well, shooting can be contagious. It rubs off on your teammates. The bucket starts to look bigger and bigger with each game.
How does St. Mary's start opening things up here? They're 0 for 6, now 0 for 7 from the floor. Simpson's fouled by Heitfeld. Josh's first and the team's second. Great way to open up if you're the Zags looking for your 10th West Coast Conference Championship here in Vegas. Pargo off to Gray, and he buries the jumper. Great time of the year. Championship week. Back here in Las Vegas, the West Coast Conference Championship, the title on the line and the automatic bid. Gonzaga on top. Now, for tonight's Fresh Take, brought to you by Subway. Current rivalry between the Zags, St. Mary's, the best on the West Coast? That's the question. You look at the recent history between these two, and Steve, you mentioned it, the 3 wins by St. Mary's against Gonzaga at home.
Well, the reason this rivalry has been elevated is St. Mary's has shown the ability to knock Gonzaga off. And to become a rivalry, there has to be a give and a take. Red Sox, Dodgers, right? Yankees, Dodgers, Lakers, Celtics. If it's a one-way dominance, it's not a rivalry.
Kind of like the ACC Big Ten Challenge. It's not a challenge that the Big Ten never wins, correct?
That's from a Big Ten guy, too, saying that.
I think this is also a rivalry because of the uniqueness of the West Coast Conference. Almost a boutique rivalry.
Okay.
The smaller gyms.
Yep.
the tradition, the religious school aspect that makes it unique. The coaches know one another so well.
See, that's a guy who stays in boutique hotels. That's why he knows that word. Gray on the drive, and Micah Downs. Zags can beat you a number of different ways, including number 22. Gets his own rebound back, but he's going against Samhan and Simpson. Stays at this end. Well, I mean, they spread the wealth. Heitfeld did not have a scoring game yesterday. Played great defense against Big John Bryant of Santa Clara. But Austin Date can beat you. Downs can beat you. Pargo. Bolden, obviously.
And Bolden is probably their best overall player. He's been very patient here early on. We saw him hit a three.
On cue, off the heel this time. Downs back out to get a fresh 35.
They're so crisp offensively. Laying hot potato with the ball, finding the open man. Gray spinning into the lane. Going to the old-fashioned bank shot. Prolific offensive numbers for Gonzaga in this hot streak of theirs late in the season. 80 points per game. I think right there with North Carolina in terms of transition basketball.
Kind of brought images of North Carolina going up and down the court yesterday. How about Diamond Simpson again doing work on the offensive glass and the foul? Will Foster, the 7'5" center off the bench from Mark Few. Watch the work, though, here.
I've said this for 2 seasons that Diamond Simpson is one of the best offensive rebounders in the nation. At 6'7", extremely long arms, but he's got a heart of a champion. He will not be denied when the ball goes up on the glass.
Micah Downs picking up the foul. That's the 3rd team foul on the Zags.
Well, Stephen, building on your point, Diamond Simpson, the all-time leading rebounder in St. Mary's school history. There's the steal, the breakaway, Patty Mills.
Mills in the open floor around Bolden. He's great in the break, but not that time. Good defense by Matt. Pargo stops, pops a little bit short.
Now they're going a little too fast, just in a hurry. The turnover. Gonzaga ball finishing up on Diamond Simpson there, fellas. All-time leading rebounder, shot blocker in school history. Past Tom Masheri, whose jersey is retired with the Golden State Warriors, former All-American for the Gales.
Steals as well.
Some serious numbers from his career.
Double-double yesterday in the semifinals. For him, he averages a double-double. Downs the miss. Here comes Mills. Is Mills back to near 100%? That's the question. Samhan has it swatted away. Stays with it, though. Omar with the bucket underneath.
This is a good counter by St. Mary's. If they want to stay within distance of Gonzaga, they needed the counterpunch, and they have here early.
Bolden, Samhan swatted it away. Omar, who's lost 30 pounds in the offseason, got himself in shapes, had a great year. Hughes can shoot it way off there.
Too fast on that possession.
And Diamond Simpson's going to pick up the foul. That's the first on Diamond.
Big Samhan running the floor with the catch. Able to recover after the block and finish.
And Samhan being strong against Bolden that time and keeping the ball in play with a shot block. Very effective defensive play by Omar.
He's one of those guys that opposing teams and students love to hate. Remember when they played Gonzaga up in Spokane earlier this year? He said he put his email on Facebook, and he got like 400 emails from Gonzaga students who were camping out that week. He couldn't get rid of them. Gray has had a big first half.
How about the curl into the lane by Bolden, the jump stop, and then the nice bounce pass delivery to the cutting Gray.
7 points already for Steven. Mills trying to get on the board. Nope, they swing it. Hughes thought about it. Samhan and the foul on Will Foster. And St. Mary's getting back to what they do best offensively.
They really have. They've been attacking the rim. See, defensively, Stephen Gray going baseline. But St. Mary's has lived at the rim here in the first half, and now it's starting to fall. Looked like they were rushing their shots earlier, but now they're having some success.
You know, Randy Bennett made the point to us before the game that even if Patty Mills is not scoring like he was, it totally changes the complexion of the game. And Mark Few said the same thing. It changes their team just being on the floor.
Well, the speed dimension at both ends influences the game.
And leadership.
Well, his swagger, his confidence, I mean, the list of superlatives. We could spend the whole half talking about Patty Mills. He's that good.
Great lob to Heitfeld from Bolden.
Now, you talk about playmaking. That's 6'5", 225, coming with his offhand, hesitating to paint, draw the defense, and throws a perfect lob to Heitfeld.
Heitfeld right in the chest, coach, of Samhan that time.
You know, Bolden is a classic example of having a sense of where he is on the court as well as his teammates and the knowledge and skill to set them up, to spoon feed them.
Mills got hit. They didn't call it.
Look at the continued playmaking by Matt Bolden at 6'5", the size to see over the top of defenses. Moves well without the ball here, utilizing the bounce, the hesitation, the give up and flush for Mr. Heitfeld. A little emotion, one more time. Chin up.
Even Simpson and Samhan doing okay so far.
All 11 points for St. Mary's. They have been married to the interior attack and doing a really good job, and they're going to start to wear down the interior defense of Gonzaga.
Don't they have to open it up from the outside at some point, though, Steve? They're 3 for 15. They've had 3 block shots and 3 air balls.
But it's a great way when you are trailing to crawl back into a game. You pound it inside, you get on the glass, get yourself second shot opportunities and a chance to get to the foul line by taking interior looks.
Maybe a little bit of a force from Austin Day, who they called Darren in the paper today. That's his papa, played for UCLA in the NBA.
But Darren had a little game as well, going to that Final Four with Larry Brown as a freshman in 1980, losing to Louisville.
Samhan, the body on Heitfeld and no call. So Josh, maybe with a flop, at least the officials believe he did.
I like the no call.
I do too.
Game, no blood, no foul, no harm. Play on.
Well, Austin Day continues to probe defensively. He thinks he has an advantage on Yusuf Smith, but Yusuf, if he can do one thing, is D up.
Heitfeld somehow got to that, and then Samhan just threw him out of the way to get to the rebound. Bolden comes up with it, drops it off. Dimitri Goodson, the spin, the English, and good. And one.
Matt Bolden wheeling and dealing like a blackjack dealer in Las Vegas. Making all the right decisions. Go back to the peripheral vision, the feel for the game. Look at the look away. Talk about David Copperfield. A little magic in his bag of tricks.
You know, it is funny. There's some guys you watch play basketball and they just put a smile on your face. He's one of them.
Yes, he is. Very efficient. Wastes no effort or energy when he has the basketball. And the hesitation crossover to leave the underwear on the deck, that was even more impressive.
Wayne Hunter on the wing, setting up Patty Mills. Dimitri Goodson, good recovery.
Back in the day, you guys used to wear underwear, huh? It was before athletic supporters, jock straps?
Yeah, same thing. None of that dry fit for us.
The old jockey shorts.
There you go.
The game has developed through the years. Mills halfway down and out. So first long-range shot for Patty does not go, and he struggled shooting the basketball yesterday. He was just 2 of 9 from three-point range.
I have to give Mark Few credit for putting the ball in Matt Bolden's hands midway through the season and just saying, take us to the promised land.
I thought he was hit, Coach.
That's a coach with a feel for his team and his personnel and the flexibility, the ingenuity to go ahead and make changes in midstream.
And confidence. Yusuf Smith knocks it out of bounds. Nope, it's going to be off of Gonzaga, so it stays at this end.
Well, this is the effort that we talk about from Yusuf Smith. Not really a scorer, but he will mix it up and throw his body around. Great size coming off the bench.
Looked like it was off Yusuf, huh?
It did. He got a little break there.
The reach on Dimitri Goodson, who had solid effort in the semis, 5 assists against Santa Clara, but his first championship week continuing Tuesday night. Women's and men's conference title games. You got the Big East Women's Championship, Pittsburgh, Louisville, one of those two against number 1 seeded UConn, and then at 9 o'clock Eastern, the Horizon League, Cleveland State and Butler. That ought to be a good one. Hunter off the out of bounds. Micah Downs just lost him in the corner.
Little unexpected contribution as Hunter lights one up. He's got little versatility in his game, contributes in a number of ways. And interesting, his role emerged only as a result of the Patty Mills injury. Sometimes an injury, out of necessity, the mother of invention, you develop another aspect or dimension of your team, and an individual steps up and performs.
Goodson knifes through. Boy, here's the future at the point guard spot for Mark Few, a freshman from Spring, Texas. Long arms of Day picking this one off. Down, took an extra step without putting it on the deck. That's a turnover. Neither team lighting it up right now. Gonzaga's 8 of 21. St. Mary's 5 of 19.
The good news if you're St. Mary's is you haven't found your stride or your rhythm offensively, and it's still a two-possession game, and you took that initial surge from the Bulldogs and were able to withstand and hang around.
Well, and you look at, again, those numbers really don't reflect where St. Mary's are getting their opportunities. They are at the rim consistently. And that will start to wear on Gonzaga as the game goes on.
We'll see if this changes things for them, too. Mickey McConnell comes in to run the point. It frees up Patty Mills now to move without the basketball. As he does here, can't connect. So they get what they want out of the offense. He just can't make the shot right now. Ira Brown off the bench for Gonzaga. Mills is 0 for 5.
Gonzaga thrives at that breakneck pace. Some teams are in a hurry. They go too fast. This team manages to play at high octane. That's a forced shot there, though. Elbows down the tonsils.
Mills on the run with the floater. That's a tough shot. Almost impossible. Bolden. That guy is going to be a long-time NBA solid player.
I definitely agree. You know who he reminds me of? A shorter deadlift shrimp. In terms of his multi-skilled position, the young man can post up, but we haven't even seen him in the post yet because he's so good handling the basketball.
Tipped out, stays here with St. Mary's. Stronger, though, don't you think?
Yes.
I mean, much more solid.
Great opportunity to shoot the three ball, fellas, in transition. Bolden in rhythm.
Reese, thank you very much. Back here in Las Vegas, Orleans Arena. First half of the West Coast Conference Championship. The title game here, Gonzaga with the 24-15 lead over St. Mary's, and Gonzaga coming off what was a convincing performance and win over Santa Clara yesterday. Tougher opponent tonight, tougher defense. They're not shooting the ball as well.
Gonzaga zones those out-of-bounds plays, and then they go into a man-to-man. They match up after that zone. Just a little different look to protect the basket on out-of-bounds plays and then match with shooters.
O'Leary, a long-range three. Diamond Simpson back to what he does best. Offensive rebounds. Yusef Smith and the foul underneath.
Well, Gonzaga has picked up right where they left off from yesterday's torching of Santa Clara, and these numbers are a result of thriving in transition. They get organized as well as any team in the country off of both made and missed baskets. That's drilled in practice. The wings running wide, getting the ball out of the net or off the board, outletting it quickly, 5-man straight to the rim. And it's those habits that then pay off in game situations under duress. A high-octane attack.
Heidfeld back on the floor. Austin Day now gets a rest from Mark Few and the Zags. 12 straight years to the championship game in the West Coast Conference for the Zags. That's an amazing run. And 9 straight regular season titles.
That's why Mark Few's name is always in the hopper as a candidate for big-time programs. But he's built a big-time program up in the Northwest like Robin Hood up there in Sherwood Forest. I just stay put. Ambushed folks up there.
Seriously, why you would only leave for the perfect situation, right? You're not going to go anywhere unless you know it's going to be absolutely perfect, and you never quite know.
There's one situation that may end up being perfect.
I know.
That may come open that a lot of people have been talking about. Down in Tucson with Lute Olson and the way he built that program up. That would be one of the more coveted positions in college basketball.
Absolutely. I mean, that's something you'd have to at least think about if you're Mark Few. But off the court, I mean, a guy who loves the outdoors, loves to go fishing, Spokane area, and I mean, he's got a great setup and obviously a great program that he's put together. Randy Bennett absolutely turned it around at St. Mary's in Moraga, in the Bay Area as well.
Andy Bennett's name also associated possibly as that Arizona next head coach. He's more of a dark horse, though.
Micah Downs. Nope. And O'Leary able to clear the rebound. So St. Mary's trying to get something going now on offense the last 6 minutes of the first half. It's really been a struggle.
But their defense has kept them in the game. Gonzaga was hot to start, but they've kind of settled down a little bit. They've controlled the defensive glass at St. Mary's.
No call underneath once again. Diamond Simpson off the glass and in. It's been Simpson and Samhan, not Patty Mills, keeping this in. And Patty's not even on the floor right now.
Well, power basketball, and Stephen, I like Bardo keeping that ball high, not bringing it down where the midgets, the munchkins, the little people, the guards can dig at the ball. Just keep it high and put it in the hole.
Goodson getting a lot of playing time here in the first half. Tough shot, though. Jeremy Pargo, as I say that, is set to check in.
And believe me, Goodson knew that Pargo was at the bench, so he was going to let that one fly.
Hughes cleared by Heitfeld, who's played with a lot of intensity the last week or so. Playing much better basketball. Downs. In, out, back in again. And that's a three.
Now Gonzaga very fortunate that one dropped. I'm not so sure the shot selection with them struggling offensively. That was the exact shot that few wanted.
Mickey McConnell, the man who stepped in for Patty Mills during the 5-week absence because of the broken hand. The steal.
Numbers 2-on-1.
Out of bounds. Unfortunately, it's not the numbers on the jerseys you wanted to have the numbers. That was O'Leary and Simpson, not your better ball handlers in transition. Championship week continuing Wednesday night on ESPN. Second round of the Big East Championship. Rutgers or Notre Dame against West Virginia. Then at 9 o'clock Eastern time, there's your matchup as well. Big East Championship, part of Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Just getting things underway here in Championship Week.
UConn's last opportunity to crawl into that last #1 seed. We see Downs around and out. UConn, the Huskies' chance would be to win the Big East Conference tournament.
Mills back on the floor, can't get it to go. Samhan throws it right off of Micah Downs. That's a heads-up play.
Yeah, it was more heads-up than the play he made before the start of the game, but
with the dunk and warm-up?
Yeah, it caused his team 2 free throws. Patty Mills is doing the right thing, guys. When you're struggling with your shot, you try to see the ball go through the net. He's trying to get to the bucket. Just didn't go down for him.
That's a great point, because if you don't make an easy bucket, you have a chance of getting fouled, and you can feel good about yourself by knocking in a couple free throws that may carry over the residue to then your jump shot.
Let me ask you this. If you're the selection committee right now and you're trying to decide whether or not St. Mary's gets in, should they not win the title here? And you're watching Patty Mills not exactly be 100%. Does it influence you at all? I know both of you guys think they're in right now.
Right. I think it doesn't really influence you because most people would understand, coming from a broken hand, the short amount of time that he took to come back in. They know he's not 100%.
Great play by McConnell. And then another good one by Downs in the corner. Calls the timeout and gets it. Oh, my gosh. That is just a terrific hustle play by Micah Downs.
We'll talk about an impressive exchange. Both ends.
First the block, and then the scramble. Presence of mind to call the timeout. Micah Downs coming out of that timeout. They took a quick one. It's a 5-point lead for Gonzaga with 4:05 left here in the first half. If you're Randy Bennett right now, you're saying, my gosh, Patty Mills is 0 for 7. He has not scored a point, and yet we're only down 5 points.
Well, Gonzaga has really taken some quick shots here in the last 3 minutes or so. They were sharing the basketball well, getting open opportunities, but it's like there's some selfish play starting to creep in.
Well, I think also St. Mary's provides more resistance. Good cut and feed. Boy, discombobulated.
Dragged the pivot foot. Walking violation gives it back to the Zags. So a 5-point lead. Mark Few trying to fire up the troops here. Step away, come right back in Vegas.
Really enjoying his time here on this side of the business. It's always interesting to see those coaches jump over here.
you never lose a game. You're undefeated. Biggest concern is where you're going to go for post-game for a little bite to eat.
Become a talking head. You're an expert on everything. You're a lot more confident, that talks before the game than when you're a coach.
Sleep, rest more peacefully, wake up with more energy.
Inside out, here comes Pargo, who just came back in. Yep, went right by Patty Mills. So to the right hand goes Jeremy Pargo.
And Jeremy Pargo has been better with his shot discipline, the selection, his decision-making has improved dramatically from earlier this year. And also he's healthier coming down the stretch.
Even though yesterday, Lav, he tweaked his back, so it took him a while to get that loose before the game. Some concern about that tonight.
He had to spend some time in the spa, getting a massage earlier today.
You see him in there?
Absolutely.
I know you were in there.
Getting the grooming tips from my man Terry Gannon and Steven Bardo. Tough to keep up with you two.
$10 shave and a haircut.
You Chicago guys stick together, thick as thieves.
Here comes Pargo and Mills to Downs. Yeah, got another one. Micah Downs played great basketball the last couple of weeks.
That's the X factor for Gonzaga. It seems as he goes, so goes Gonzaga. And when he's playing well, similar to the Old Spice Classic earlier this year where they won it, when he's going well, it seems to really relax everyone else and let them fall into their traditional role.
He's got 10 points and 9 rebounds already in this one. Mills, they'll call the foul and the bucket. Wow.
Little NBA style.
The foul on Pargo and the bucket actually counts.
Well, Patty's just getting ready for the next level because he's going to be playing in the NBA someday and able to draw the foul, the smooch or kiss off the glass.
Yeah, the foul was well before the shot, but
tough. We couldn't get the audible on the whistle, so hard to know.
Okay, one official had a 1-and-1 sign up, but okay, he got it together. Okay.
Aussie flag. They're watching back in Australia, too.
Well, he is legendary down under. One of the most popular players in the history of Australian basketball.
Bolden just goes right back to work. That's what he does.
He's such a cool customer. The poise, coaches call it moxie or savvy, basketball IQ. A lot of superlatives, just a great game.
And he stays just behind the beat. So whatever the defense gives him, he takes advantage of it.
McConnell looking for the screen from Samhan. Here comes Mills now. The lob to Diamond Simpson. Gray took it away, and they're going to call him for the foul. Got a piece of his arm as well as the ball.
Boy, Gonzaga travels well, huh? How about the chorus of boos? Not happy with the officiating. It's like a home game for the Bulldogs.
Backside, Diamond Simpson sneaks behind, but pretty good defensive reaction by Stephen Gray to break up that lob.
First foul on Stephen Gray, the 8th team foul. And 4 team fouls on St. Mary's so far in the first half.
Once again, St. Mary's not converting from the foul line. That could rear its ugly head, an Achilles heel for the Gales here in the postseason.
2 fans from Spokane, but that was very much a Vegas look they've adopted.
Yikes on that touch. Front rim. Straight brick job.
Samhan the foul. The 5th team foul. His first.
Fellas, we talked about the better decision-making of Jeremy Pargo, the maturity over the course of the year, the opportunity to take that to the rim, and yet we've seen the playmaking as well at different junctures in this tournament.
Double-digit lead for the Zags and the ball under a minute to go until the break. 2-man game to Heitfeld and 1.
Wow. Made it look like a grapefruit. His hands are big like Nerf basketball in the living room. The pick and roll. Too small as Mills gets buried under the rim. Look at the delivery, precise passing. Heitfeld keeps it high and just drops it in the old peach basket.
First foul on Yusef Smith. Heitfeld, the old-fashioned three-point play somewhere along the line in the season. Mark Few made the decision to put the ball in the hands of Matt Bolden more than they had. It was Pargo running everything, and then they distributed, let Bolden set up the offense, and it's worked.
Well, Bolden, as Coach Labb mentioned, is just so, he's such a cool customer, but he's also 6'5". And so me being a former larger point guard, his vision is a little bit better than Pargo's on the floor.
Tipped out, it'll be Gonzaga basketball.
And you know what's interesting, building on that point, now because Bolden took the responsibility of quarterbacking the team late in the year here, Pargo has found his stride, and he's playing better as a result. Now you've got two interchangeable parts, two playmakers, shot makers. Such a tough matchup.
And it's kind of interesting that Jeremy Pargo now is filling the role of what his brother does, Gennaro Pargo, as being a scorer now. Not having the responsibility of running the team, kind of being freed up to do his thing. His brother Gennaro is an outstanding scoring guard.
Hit 2 big threes last night in the game. Pargo did. About a 3-second difference, shot clock, game clock. Last 3 possessions for the Zags. A couple of 3-pointers and an old-fashioned and one. Pretty efficient.
For the high ball screen here, Heitfeld and Pargo.
Got to go now. Ray the foul, but not enough because it didn't hit the rim. Shot clock violation.
And he slipped on the logo. That's the danger in these tournaments. Those temporary logos in the middle of the floor are easy to slip on, a real hazard.
They're going to actually change that in some of the venues in the NCAA tournament, but not all. But some of the coaches were talking about the fact that they'd like to see that changed.
Roy Williams in particular was a proponent of putting the paint on the hardwood. Similar to being in the shower, you got to be careful. Could slip there, cost yourself an injury.
Patty Mills trying to get ahead of steam here. Final couple of seconds, got the handle, let it fly. Nope, tough first half for the great guard from Australia. Mills just 1 of 10, 0 for 4 from three-point range. 0 for 4 from three-point range. Our Guinness first half stat sheet. Mills just 3 points in the game. As a team, they've shot just 24% so far. Micah Downs, a big first half, got a double-double already. So you get it from a number of different angles from Gonzaga. Last night it was Austin Day with 28 points. Tonight it's been Micah Downs and Stephen Gray with 7 off the bench.
And we talked about decision-making from the sidelines, from the head coaches. You see Mills come up short on the runner, well defended there. And I think the size and length of Gonzaga affecting Patty Mills, not just the injury, but also the length of this team. But going back to Mark Few and decision-making from the sidelines, his decision to start Micah Downs has really jump-started Gonzaga, elevated their play to another level.
In the last couple of games, last week or so, he has been in the starting lineup. That one thrown away, and the turnover gives it back to the Gales. If you're St. Mary's now, what are you looking for to try to get back in this one?
I think their attack was sound in terms of getting to the rim and trying to wear down the front line of Gonzaga. They just didn't finish very well. And you have to tip your hat to Josh Heitfeld and Austin Day for their length in bothering those shot opportunities.
Heitfeld did a great job on John Bryant in the semis from Santa Clara, trying to do that with Omar Samhan tonight. Day's been matched up with Simpson. And there's a foul defensively.
The other element that Randy Bennett talked to his team about at halftime is trying to chip away. There's no 13-point possession. You've got to gradually, incrementally, with stops and shutouts, get some opportunities in transition. And then on the half court, execute with some precision and try and pound it inside. I think moving Mills off the ball and letting him utilize his speed and quickness coming off of screens, maybe curl into the lane some, instead of continuing to launch from distance would be a wise decision as well.
After that second foul on Micah Downs, Hunter at the line. And it's an 11-point game. Little pressure up the floor now from the Gales.
You want to give Gonzaga some different looks defensively because they're such a rhythm team. And once they get in rhythm, they've got 2 or 3 guys scoring the basketball. It's very difficult to defend.
Offensive rebound by Downs, swatted away though. Diamond Simpson starts the break. Here's Mills. Stop, pop, 3. No, can't get it to go.
Good job by Josh Heitfeld coming out and challenging the shot.
I've been impressed with Josh Heitfeld's mindset. Look at the pickoff, good anticipation, the easy run out, and that may get Patty Mills going. Sometimes, you mentioned it, Stephen, in the first half, just getting yourself a bucket, seeing it come through the net, gives you that little confidence you need.
Single-digit game now. Some pressure on Pargo, but Mills just flies by, and Pargo able to knock down the 17-footer. An area of his game that he's worked hard recently at. In the one weakness, shooting the basketball from the perimeter. Walking violation on Samhan.
See, this is one way that you can affect the ball game. On the defensive end, Patty Mills reading the play and shooting the gap. That's one of the underrated aspects of this young man's game, is his ability to play defense.
Gonzaga in the title game for the 14th time overall. This is the 23rd edition of the West Coast Conference Tournament. They have been in this title game 12 straight years. Pargo the floater and the tip dunk by Heitfeld. Great follow.
Josh Heitfeld continues to come on like gangbusters. And even when he has the quiet night, as he did last night offensively, he was a force, he was a presence on defense. His aggressiveness, his leadership, very alert at the defensive end of the court.
Mills, way off. That aspect of his game, guys, is just not there right now. Great dish inside from Bolden to Josh Heitfeld. The dunk and a timeout.
Josh Heitfeld, the big fella, wants to eat. Coming in. Now in transition. A five-man running. Give it to the big fella.
All kinds here in Vegas. Yeah, now watch what this sign says. Oops, yeah, that's right. Every smart person knows that the sign was upside down for the first 10 seconds. 44-29. Gonzaga rolling right now over St. Mary's. They've been dominant. Some select company they're in. They've won 9 straight regular season crowns. It ties Kentucky behind UCLA, UConn, and Terry Tarkanian's UNLV. He was here last night. Tark was.
And I go back to what we mentioned last night. Since 1992, Gonzaga's won more games and a higher winning percentage than any program in the Western United States. To me, that's just as impressive. They lead both UCLA and Stanford, who come in second and third, respectively.
Think about private institutions across the country, too, other than Duke. Who's been better the last decade or 15 years? Samhan doubled. And the foul, and it was a bit of a late call. They're going to call Austin Day for the foul. That's his third. Gives us a moment to remind you, Championship Week rolls on Tuesday night. Women's and men's title games coming your way. 7 Eastern, the Big East women's title game with that matchup. Either Pittsburgh, Louisville against UConn, and then the nightcap, Cleveland State and Butler, Horizon League.
Austin Day is getting ready to come out of the game because he was jawing with the official. And you could see Mark Few telling him in no uncertain terms to shut his mouth. And he kept yakking and he goes to sit down. Young fella, when the coach asks you to do something, you're going to be sitting next to him if you don't listen.
Get those old splinters. Little Pine tends to open the ears, a little more receptive to listening. After sitting over there next to coach.
Just 3 points tonight, 1 for 3 from the floor after a 28-point outburst in the semifinal. Backdoor, great pass to Pargo, and the bucket. That's how Gonzaga has played over the last 4 or 5 games.
Who made the pass?
Matt Bolden.
The WD-40 man. Everything runs more smoothly when Bolden has the ball in his hands. What a luxury as a coach. You can just sit back, cross your legs, take a deep breath when Matt Bolden's handling things.
Mills still can't get one to go down. 9 field goals in over 24 minutes. That's it.
Well, it's kind of par for the season for Gonzaga. #1 in field goal percentage defense in the nation. Not in the West Coast Conference, ladies and gentlemen, the nation. It's a very good defensive ball club, and they have been all season.
Great slip. Heitfeld read it perfectly after Mills fell down, and Pargo found him. Greg Maddox still working on the popcorn. His expression never changed on the mound either, right?
We'll talk about precision. He was someone who could nibble the corner of the plate with the best of them.
Cano finally breaks the string, but it's a 15-point Gonzaga lead. Pargo going back to work. That's what he does so well, guys.
Well, we saw him on the last possession deliver the pass to Heitfeld, who was sprinting to the rim off that slip, and then there decides to pull up. Again, that goes back to decision-making.
Another steal for the Zags. They have never looked better all season. They've had ups and downs, a lot of doubts about different aspects. Heitfeld with the spin on the baseline and the reverse. 52-33. Zags playing their best basketball of the year.
Well, Josh Heitfeld doing a little James Worthy on the baseline, but that's the play before. Matt Bolden playmaking.
Playmaking, and look at the movement without the ball. Watch here as Pargo sees the overplay by Mills. He bites on it like going for the salmon egg, and that sets up the back cut by Pargo, the precise delivery by Bolden. I think Gonzaga building the case, building the argument for them to be a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. I thought coming in this week they were between a 4 and a 6, and with this impressive performance, they've elevated that resume. When you look at the strength of the non-conference teams that they faced, how about getting taken to the woodshed by Memphis?
Yep.
Their manhood challenged, their pride bruised, and the way in which they've responded to that report card, to that thumping, is impressive.
Earlier in the year, they had that difficult stretch where they lost to UConn. They were up late in that game, and by their account, should not have lost it. And they were in a tailspin for a while. It took them a while to get over that. Lost then to Portland State, lost to Utah, lost 3 in a row. And then now they have won 17 of their last 18, and the only loss in the calendar year 2009 has been to the Memphis Tigers. Always wondered where the Hanson brothers ended up from Slapshot.
Great
there in
movie.
Vegas.
Paul Newman, what a great sports film. Right up there with the Fish at St. Pittsburgh. And speaking of Pittsburgh, they're one of the locks with Louisville and North Carolina when you look at their total resume. And then this group over here, they're fighting for that last #1 spot and the #2 seeds as well. And again, this is where conference tournaments are so critical. The teams that get bumped off early in a conference tournament slip, and the teams below can leapfrog over them to a #1 seed or lock up those #2 seeds.
I think that Memphis has been disrespected all season long. I think they've earned the right to be strongly considered for a #1 seed.
Bucket and the foul. Diamond Simpson going to go to the free throw line as they work that high-low. And John Calipari making that same point recently.
A nice high-low by Omar Samhan. Nice lead pass over Jeremy Pargo. Simpson showing you why he's a diamond cut.
Never saw that coming. Simpson to the line. Third foul on Mike it down. Yeah, you're right about Memphis, I believe. I mean, you got to judge it by... I mean, they play in Conference USA. And people speculate what would they do in the ACC and the Big East. Well, they don't play there.
That's right.
All you can ask them to do is win their games that they play.
But Conference USA is a little bit better than people give them credit for. UTEP, Tulsa, UAB. Those are solid basketball teams. And
yeah, but it's not Wake, Duke, North Carolina. I mean,
listen to the ACC homer here, huh?
Well, okay, go
North Carolina State alum.
But the
Wolfpack grad.
The Mountain West Conference is being talked about with possibly 3 or 4 teams going in the tournament. I would put those 4 teams in Conference USA against those 4 teams in the Mountain West Conference right now.
The point is well taken. Now, Terry's agenda is so transparent. Of course, he's going to be talking ACC.
I'm very upfront about it, though, and I admit all my transparency. So, you know. All right, I'll give you, okay, Louisville. We'll talk UConn. We'll talk Pitt. I'll give you the Big East, so it doesn't compare to that. But they have won the games that they're supposed to win.
No question.
For 4 straight years now.
And I think UConn they'll be the #1 seed if they win the Big East tournament. What Memphis has to hope in Oklahoma is some of these teams slip early in their conference tournaments, and then the other teams continue to win games with a captive audience and a national stage.
Tipped out of bounds. It'll be St. Mary's basketball. So, guys, the 13-23 mark, and Randy Bennett thinking get it back little by little, but they're down 17, and they've got a star in Patty Mills who's now on the bench.
Well, a real dilemma because Mills hasn't been able to hit the broad side of a barn. And as a result, look at the steal by Pargo again. The lazy pass in the perimeter leads to the two-hand jam. Mr. Pargo hitting on all the right notes late in the season, as is Gonzaga.
Yes. And what's so difficult about Gonzaga, guys, when they're ahead, they've got the athleticism to take chances defensively. And those are so damaging to the opposing team when you get a run out like that.
Samhan in the lane with a little jump hook.
That's a great point, Stephen. I think the length, we talked about leading the country in field goal percentage defense. When they get their arms out like the branches in a tree, like a crowded forest, there's just not much daylight in the basket area and in passing lanes. They can extend those windshield wipers. When they get their arms out, it's impressive.
Carlin Hughes. Samhan took a long time, finally called for the offensive foul. You hesitate, you've lost.
I say, Terry, you study long, you study wrong. Omar Samhan, Josh Heitfeld has done that the last 2 games. Been very impressive being strong defensively inside.
Third foul on Omar Samhan as Patty Mills continues to watch from the bench. 2 of 15 overall, 0 for 7 from three-point range.
Going back to Stephen's point there, Josh Heitfeld early in his career played peaks and valleys emotionally. He would lose concentration, the poor body language at points. And he went through some troubles off the court with the legal issues, but as a result, stronger, wiser, more mature, and playing better at this stage of his career than he ever has.
Can't stop anybody right now. Austin Day, the easy lay-in inside, so we're under 12 minutes, and it's a 19-point Gonzaga lead. These two teams met twice in the regular season. Gonzaga won both, but they were close. 2-point win in Moraga for the Zags. O'Leary, Simpson blocked from behind by Day.
And who's on the floor to get the loose ball?
Heitfeld.
See, Heitfeld's got a baby girl. And when you're a senior, you got to start thinking about how you're going to put food in your child's mouth. Baby needs new shoes. And that's why Josh Heitfeld is playing so well.
But Pat Riley's noticing right now. Heitfeld knows he can make himself some money with this run in March to the bank.
Wants to win a championship first on his way to a West Coast Conference title and should go deep into the NCAA tournament. Reese, thank you very much. Back here in Las Vegas, a look at those tickets punched. Chattanooga earlier tonight with that win over the College of Charleston.
Very impressive, and it's also a little strange to not see Davidson coming out of that Southern Conference, and we'll have to see if they can survive Selection Sunday.
Well, we'll talk about that through the next 11 minutes or so. Teams like Davidson, what it means to St. Mary's. He might have the edge between those bubble teams. Right now, Joe Lenardi, our bracketologist, has St. Mary's as one of the last 4 in the NCAA field. But you think about the upsets in conference tournaments, it's an uneasy feeling for Randy Bennett.
Well, the good news, their RPI last night, as we see Goodson with the mid-range touch. Little 2-foot jump stop, diminutive in size, but using the speed there. Last night, St. Mary's with that win over Portland, their RPI went from 55 to 45, and it will increase tonight even in a defeat going against Gonzaga.
But if you're watching this game and they get blown out in the title game,
why are you hating on the Gales?
I'm not.
I'm trying to play devil's advocate. You're killing us.
You know, it's my job. Throw it out there. See what you guys think.
Kill him, little Gales.
Samhan. Going to call the foul on Heitfeld. Barely got a piece of him, but it was enough as Mills gets set to check back in. There's their resume, guys.
You take a look right there. Schedule strength. Really can't do much about that with the West Coast Conference. With the record versus top 50, 2-2. And you look at the numbers, 25-5. The big game is the win against Utah State. Everybody around the country had Utah State as their Cinderella team. Without Patty Mills, St. Mary's blasted them at home. So I think that was big in terms of getting them over the hump.
19-1 with Mills in the lineup. So they lose tonight, that'd be 19-2, and they're going to play an extra game against Eastern Washington. They had a game to schedule. They're going to play that Friday. So Randy Bennett thinking, why not go ahead and play an extra game? Mills, you get used to him being back even more, and maybe add a win to your total. Bolden stops. He just makes it look so easy. Just a walk in the park.
Never loses, never changes expression on his face. He's never out of control. You rarely see Matt Bolden with a charge or a turnover from a forced opportunity. If he doesn't have it, he pulls it back out. But as you said, Terry, it makes it look so easy.
Mills, wild left-handed floater. Heitfeld just pushed by O'Leary, who was falling down. Ian's first foul, the senior from Woodland, California.
This has to be a total nightmare for Patty Mills. He's such a competitor. Was looking forward to coming back and in the championship game to have this type of struggle at the offensive end. Not what he anticipated, not what Randy Bennett and his coaching staff anticipated. But the good news is they've still got the NCAA tournament ahead of them, in my book.
Mine as well. And I think they're an NCAA capable ball club. We're trying to find the 65 best teams around the country, and I think St. Mary's has done enough to warrant being in that group.
Day, Yusef Smith, pretty good defense, pushing Day off the lane. Here comes Mills in transition. Knocked to the ground. Hughes misses. Heitfeld over the back on Samhan. That's number 4 on Omar. Championship week, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, Big East second round game. Rutgers or the Irish against West Virginia, then South Florida or Seton Hall against number 20 Syracuse in the nightcap.
Day and Hunter, pretty chippy out there, huh, Stephen?
Yeah. Yusuf letting him know, you might be talented, but I'm a senior. I've been in the weight room a couple years longer than you have.
Wait. Dipsy too, yikes. Unnecessary at 6'10". You can jump stop, take it strong to the rim, even gather and flush that.
Hughes high off the glass. Carlin Hughes, the senior, who's also from Australia, had a big game against Portland at 12 points yesterday. Stephen Gray came off the bench in the first half. He's been in a shooting slump, but not tonight. He's in double figures.
Think about this. Stephen Gray, Austin Day, Matt Bolden, Josh Heitfeld, and Micah Downs all have three-point range. And they can stretch a defense out so much with the ability to shoot the long ball that it allows those driving lanes for Pargo and Dimitri Goodson. Just a tough team to stop.
Well, you're right about the firepower. You see Goodson, the future of the Bulldogs, weaving his way into the rim for the finish. Gonzaga with potentially 6 all-conference level players. If they were on different teams, they would be leading scorers in this conference.
Mills to the floor, did not get up holding his hand. Seems to be all right. You can't trade buckets right now for St. Mary's, obviously. And they haven't figured out a way to stop Gonzaga. Patty Mills, the foul. That's his first. Pargo, the current point guard, future point guard, Dimitri Goodson, starting to take over already late. Championship game of the West Coast Conference here in Las Vegas, 68-45. The Zags with the lead. When you talk about trying to stop the Zags, who do you key on? The leading scorers, Heitfeld 9 times this year, Bolden 9 times, Day 7, Gray, Micah Downs, and tonight they've got 5 guys in double figures.
Yeah, they just really spread you thin and can attack you in so many different ways.
How about Patty Mills? It's apparent he's not 100%. Watch him try to protect the hand as he goes to the deck.
And that's a stop, drop, and roll right there. Trying to avoid any contact on that wrist. And we also saw when he went to the bucket, when he got stripped, he did the same thing. And so it's a gallant effort, but obviously nowhere near 100%.
It's a great look from the guys in the truck. But, Coach, you can't play that way, can you? When you're thinking, he's obviously thinking about the hand.
In particular, when you're counting on him to be the central intelligence of the team, but on the move, the field general, the quarterback, and to have him hampered with that injury, not playing at full strength, affects the entire nerve center of St. Mary's team. The quarterback, like our truck in a broadcast, is the nerve center of a team. Things flow through the point guard or the quarterback, and when he's not at full strength, everyone is affected. The flip side is Matt Bolden.
So what is it that you need from Matt Lepp and Michael Ireland?
Today, they have been on the money.
Oh, okay.
They're Emmy Award winning. Are you kidding me? The pre-production, the motivation, camera angles.
Oh, you needed a loan or something there. Foul underneath. Zags basketball.
Oh, they're buying tonight, I hope. Worldwide leader, Mickey. Disney.
Wayne Hunter, the foul. Look at the numbers. 2 of 15 for St. Mary's. But this is where they should be really doing their damage. They've only got 18 points in the paint. Gonzaga 34.
That length is hard to simulate in practice. You know, when you got a 7'5" Foster that comes off the bench, Austin Day at 6'10", Josh Heitfeld at 6'10", and they're athletic. It's not that they're just tall, they can move. So very difficult when they're standing tall as a whole.
Everybody left him, so when in doubt, shoot. Bolden, another deuce.
I can't recall a player that I've seen the last 4 or 5 years that so effectively builds cohesion or unity with his team as Matt Bolden does. And he does it so effortlessly. You know, early in this game, he didn't look for his own shot. He just set the table for all of his teammates. And that's the equivalent of having a coach on the floor.
I'll tell you a player who did it last year from Memphis. That was Derrick Rose. You talk about building cohesion. Everybody elevated a couple levels when he stepped on the floor.
You know, Jason Kidd had that ability, I thought, with the Cal Bears when he broke in as an underclassman. But it's a rare trait to have those attributes, those characteristics. It's unusual. He has exceptional poise and skill for a college basketball player.
Second foul on Dimitri Goodson. 15 foul on Gonzaga. Both teams with 5 team fouls. 71-45.
Come on, Austin.
Simpson. Oh, they don't call it. Samhan. Best rebounding team in the West Coast Conference, St. Mary's, and they do their work a lot on the offensive glass.
What, Josh Heitfeld's had really good position all night long, and it looked like obvious charges, but he hadn't gotten the call, so like his effort.
What kind of shot was that? It went in. Downs, high over Samhan.
Well, that's when you know you're on a roll. Throw one up, get the happy birthday bank from straight on. Circus shot.
Simpson again on the offensive glass, and the foul on Austin Day. Yep. And on Day, that would be 4. Take a look at what Josh Heitfeld's been able to do to follow. He's let the game come to him, guys. I mean, he hasn't forced things, and with an offense like this, you don't need to force things. Sometimes, though, you're in that last year, and you start to do that. Our DiGiorno heating up player right now, the guy who's heating up, 14 points and 6 rebounds.
Terry, your description of his play tonight is right on point. You wouldn't know that he took 9 shot opportunities because he's let the game come to him. But we've seen the maturation of this young man over the last 3 seasons, and it's been impressive because he's given up his body. We know he's athletic enough and strong enough to be a superior defender on the interior, but we're just now starting to see that consistently.
I think in particular, Heitfeld is critical to Gonzaga's postseason success because of that ruggedness, that hard edge. You have to have that. They may end up facing a team like Pittsburgh down the line or a physical Big Ten team. And you need a strong presence at both ends of the floor in the lane, and Heitfeld brings that.
Day all the way in. You know, he's not had a great game tonight, but he shows glimpses throughout any game of what's to come.
And I think Coach Lab talked about it last night. He had a crossover at 6'10", but it was so low that the defender can't do anything with it. That's skill.
Diamond Simpson, one-handed line drive off the glass, and then Simpson with 17 of the game to go along with 6 rebounds. His mate inside, Samhan 15 and 8.
Good decision here by Gonzaga. Put some touches on the ball in the half court, get deeper into the shot clock, understand time, score, situation. No rush here.
I love the floor spacing of Gonzaga right now.
No one in the lane. Look, there's no one in there. Opens it up for back cuts, penetration.
Not seeing a whole lot of defensive pressure from the Gales here right now.
Well, they're a deflated basketball team. They're going to have to regroup, retool, get their swagger or confidence back. Look at the double clutch by the big fella, Billy Poltz.
How about that one? Wasn't far off the ground, but had enough time to double clutch, reload, and get it in.
Just aged yourself there, Laugh.
The Whopper, one of my favorites. San Antonio Spurs.
Hey, he was effective, though. It wasn't pretty.
He had that international style of play before we considered it international.
Must say, I haven't heard anyone compared to him in quite some time.
He was kind of like that word you used last night. What was that?
The big Hanyok,
Yeah, he's
the Potter, workhorse.
He was one of those. Heitfeld taking you outside. He can shoot that as well. Hasn't done much of that in the last couple of games in this tournament, but he'll knock that down. Timeout, Randy Bennett. So Josh, the senior from Clarkston, Washington, his parents are here watching the action. A lot of fans from Spokane have made their way to Las Vegas. Really, guys, it's been a great sight. I mean, I congratulate the conference for coming here because they wanted to get it off college campuses. The only two times in the last decade Gonzaga has not won the title, they lost it on an opponent's home floor, San Diego. So they finally get a chance to move it here. It's been a great success.
Well, and you've had success here as well, Terry, and so I'm sure you love it.
He's got the hot hand. Terry Gannon's got the hot hand.
Big time.
Now, see, now I can't do a thing. You jinxed it. Was his foot.
I'm rolling with Gannon tonight.
That's a 3 right there, guys, as I change the subject quickly. His foot was behind the line.
Very subtle change of direction there, a little change of pace to get the subject off of your hot hand.
Good crossover.
How do you think they like this up at Jack and Dan's Tavern in Spokane? You think they're rolling, throwing peanuts at each other right now, raining threes with peanuts?
Is that John Stockton's family's place?
Dollar beer night on the house.
They do call it a 3. 78-53 as we step away with 3:23 left. All right, Reese, back here where the guys next to me, Stephen Bardo and Steve Lavin, say there is no drama with St. Mary's. They're going to go to the NCAA tournament.
Coach Bennett shouldn't lose any sleep going into Sunday's Selection Sunday. Don't want them having any ulcers. They're squarely with both feet in the field of 65,
like
off the bubble.
It's like when the GM gives the coach, the vote of confidence.
Or the athletic director coming down the stretch.
Yeah.
I experienced that.
And then the next week, you're gone. Well, we'll see. 3:23 left, and St. Mary's has struggled tonight. Patty Mills is 2 of 16, 0 for 7 from three-point land. So not really getting a look at the real Patty Mills, because when he's healthy, when he's playing, guys, he's a special player.
Well, we saw that right before his injury at Gonzaga, 18 points in the first half. Just aggressive.
And you empathize with Randy Bennett and the Gales because they've really had 3 separate basketball teams within one season. They had the first team at full strength with Mills. They got off to the 18-1 start. Then they had to regroup, retool with a different team when Mills goes down with the injury. And now they have a third version of the Gales team as he returns. And that's tough to do from season to season, let alone within one season. And the key is it's a quarterback, a point guard. If it was a big man, you might have a backup post player and that transition is smoother. But at the point guard spot, tough to change in mid-stride.
So what is your opinion of this third St. Mary's team?
Well, I think they were exposed tonight against Gonzaga, but you have to keep that in mind that Gonzaga's tearing everybody up right now, and I'm sure the selection committee will factor that in as well. This is a hot Bulldog squad playing as well as anybody in the country. Now, critics or skeptics will say they're feasting on West Coast Conference opponents. The last real test was Memphis. But I think we've watched enough basketball to know that this is a different team in terms of their physicalness, their toughness.
Cargo runs that shot clock down. Foul on the reach. Carlin Hughes picking up the personal championship week. presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Big East women's title game. That's Louisville and UConn. And then Horizon League action, Cleveland State and Butler coming your way. 2:31 mark here, 78-55. Bringing the subs off the bench. Heitfeld takes his seat. Terrific game. Austin Day last night, a terrific game. Bolden's been terrific. That's redundant with him. I mean, he is night in, night out.
And you could tell that these guys really like each other. They've had some adversity. They've gone through the loss at UConn we talked about earlier, and they had a little slide. They lost against Portland State. Memphis comes in and tests their manhood, and they regrouped quite well and are playing their best basketball. So this is a very dangerous ball club, and they actually go further than any Gonzaga club we've seen.
Clint Steindl, the freshman from Queensland, Australia.
And fellas, isn't it interesting, building on Steven's point there, how oftentimes you look back at the arc of the season throughout your career, and there was a defining moment, a crossroads game, and it could be a good game or a bad game that turned a season on a dime. And I think that Memphis game was where Gonzaga pivoted and moved in the right direction.
Ira Brown, the senior from Conroe, Texas. He spent some time in the minor leagues. 5 years, as a matter of fact.
Spent some time in the weight room, too. That's a grown man right there.
Speaking of a grown man, Will Foster, 7'5", 273 pounds. You stand next to him. It's like Mark Eaton. I remember one time, I fought playing against Ralph Sampson. I knew 7'5" guys. Chuck Nevitt at NC State. Stood next to Mark Eaton. He was like a different, he wasn't even a human being. He was so big.
Said it got dark in the room when he came in, huh?
Will Foster, the same way. He's so big.
We had Mike Lanier, who was 7'7" at UCLA, and he had a twin brother. They're actually in the Guinness Book of World Record as the tallest twins on record. And that was an experience to travel with him in planes, and the concern about the beds. At 7'7", obviously there aren't many beds. A double king wouldn't do the job for him.
You can't go buy a pair of jeans. You got to sew two together. Seriously. Things that you and I don't think about. Micah Downs got to be on the all-tournament team, if not MVP.
I have him as MVP.
Do you?
Yep.
Yeah, he's right there. Downs, another great performance. 12 points, 12 rebounds, but he had 10 and 10 in the first half tonight and had a great effort in the semifinals with 18 points.
I'll go with Matt Bolden. We can disagree without being disagreeable, although I do like Stephen Bardo's pick in terms of the X factor in Micah Downs. You were on that early. There's no question. My first opportunity to watch Gonzaga play a couple months here, and they have been impressive.
On their feet here in Orleans Arena. Brown's follow good.
I'm really impressed with the way Gonzaga travels. This is like a home game for them.
Leary stays at this end. Close it out on St. Mary's, guys. There's some thoughts on where they are right now after this effort in the tournament.
Well, it's not good to lose this poorly in a national televised game. It leaves a sour taste in the mouths of those that are making the decision, but I still think the body of work will speak for itself, and I think they'll be okay.
You know how I feel, fellas. St. Mary's deserving. And keep in mind, if they're going to use the injury argument with a Blake Griffin in Oklahoma, it's only fair for St. Mary's in a West Coast conference to use that same argument. Now, he didn't play as well as we would have preferred, but who can project how much better he'll be next week?
I'm with you. I think they should get in. But Mark Few and the Gonzaga Bulldogs win yet another West Coast Conference tournament title.